Welcome back to part 3 of chapter 9, Eurasia, and we're continuing talking about the cultural coherence and diversity of the region. So the Russian domain really remains the heart of the Slavic world, and Russian cultural patterns and social institutions have really long influenced the region here. Now, when we take a look at the heritage of the Russian Empire, its origins are around Moscow, which settled in about 200 CE. Then we had Slavic political power, which grew by 900 CE with the establishment of the state of the Rus, R-U-S. And then we had some continued expansion, and later there was the conversion to the Eastern Orthodox Christianity. Later on, the core of the Russian Empire was really established by the 14th century. Then we saw areas that expanded into distinctive groups, for example, Ukrainians and Belarusians. We also saw remarkable expansion between in the 16th and 17th centuries, with a final expansion during the 19th century. So we do have an establishment of a tightly integrated cultural region that spans over a very vast territory. Russia shares a historical legacy with Western institutions, but it also remains very historically suspicious of European culture and social institutions. Now, when we take a look at the geography of languages in the region, Slavic languages really dominate the region, but they do have a complicated distribution. Forward onto this language map here. So we have Slavic languages, Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian. So that's all of the yellow, which spans throughout the region, but can have little smaller pockets. And then Ukrainian here and Belarusian as well, where we have the stripe lines. That is a mixture of both Ukrainian and Russian here in this area. And non-Slavic languages do also dominate a lot of the Siberian region as well. And non-Slavic languages include Romanian, Caucasian, Armenian, and then Finno-Ugric, Altaic, and Eskimo-Aleutian languages, and some other ones as well. Okay, so that would be up here in the northeastern portion of the region. So I'm going to pop back to this slide really quick. So really the vast majority of Belarusians live in Belarus, and that's actually the definition of a nation state, where the Belarusians are living in Belarus. We do have a really complex situation in Ukraine, with only about 2/3 being Ukrainian, living in Ukraine, within Ukraine boundaries. Russian speakers are strong in the eastern region of Ukraine. And then we have ongoing tensions in Ukraine, as we well know. And then in Moldova, Romanian speakers dominate in that region. We also have about 80% of Russians' population claim to be have a Russian linguistic identity. We have Finno-Ugric people that dominate in some of the northern areas. And we have Altic speakers in clusters in the middle of the Volga Valley. We also have some indigenous groups throughout Siberia, and these are the Eskimo-Aleut people throughout Siberia, mostly in the northeastern portion. Now here is a map showing where in Ukraine the Russian languages are spoken. And you can see we have a larger concentration of Russian languages spoken in the eastern portion, and it becomes less as you move west in Ukraine. If we take a look at the Caucasus region, we have lots of these are trans-Caucasian languages. And these really include many different languages in this region. We really have a very complex topography and that has contributed to a wide diversity in this region. And there's really 30 different languages spoken in this area that's about the size of Ohio. And this creates a lot of tension in the region, in such a small region, I should say. So most Russians, when we take a look at religion, most Russians, Belarusians, and Ukrainians, they all share the Eastern Orthodox Christianity. Religion was prohibited during the Soviet era, and during the Soviet era, most houses of worship were converted into other uses. In terms of contemporary Christianity, we do see a religious revival underway following the collapse of the Soviet Union. And there are other forms of Western Christianity present in the region. For non-Christian religions, the dominant non-Christian religion in the region is Islam. It is the largest, again, non-Christian religion in the region. And most Islamics are Sunni Muslims, and they are found in the North Caucasus and Volga Valley. We do see a rise of Islamic fundamentalism, and it is of concern, particularly in the Caucasus regions. Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine do also have a large Jewish population. And then Buddhism is found throughout the interior of the region as well. So we do have a wide variety of religions, and as well as the way the religions are practiced. Now, when we talk about Russian culture and looking comparing it with the rest of the world and what is the context of that, the Russian culture has both looked inward and outward in terms of their orientation. And Russian literature, music, dance, they've all been very popular. You might know of the Russian ballet as being one of the major ballets in the world. We also see sports has been a venue for nationalism and revivalism. During the Soviet days, Soviet leaders turned against modernism, and they centered on socialist realism. They really centered any kind of culture towards traditional high arts, and that would be classical music and ballet that had no political agenda. And those arts tended to receive state support from the Soviet state. Then with the fall of the Soviet Union, there were improved information flows, and we saw a younger generation from the 1980s turn towards the West for inspiration. Again, the collapse of the Soviet Union brought a rush of global cultural influences in terms of dress, film, dance, and literature. And when we take a look at food in Russia, Moscow in particular has been changing their food. We see a profound transformation with the introduction of popularized Western elements in their food, as well as Central Asian immigrant influences in their foods, mostly from Central Asian migrants coming to the region. So when migrants move to a region, they bring their food and their food cultures with them, and also oftentimes will change, or elements of that culture will be introduced into the new region. Okay, I'm going to stop with part 3 and continue next with our geopolitical framework.